Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to today's SCL webinar. It's really great to join you today for this session of the SCL Women in Tech Law Group. It's our first virtual session during the lockdown. I'm Sue McLean, and I'm chair of the SCL Women in Tech Law Group. I'm a trustee at the SCL and a partner at Baker McKenzie. And today is the first in a series. We're calling it Day in the Life. And given that we can't do physical networking, we thought this would be really an opportunity for us to learn more about some of our members. So this is the first in this series, but we're hoping to have more over the coming months. And I am delighted to be joined today by the terrific Amy Collins from Cooley and Jenny Tay from Accenture. So thank you both for joining us in this inaugural session of Day in the Life. I'll just give you a bit of background about both of them. Amy works in private practice. She is an associate in Cooley's Technology Transactions Group, as well as their cyber data and privacy team. She advises on a wide range of general commercial and non-contentious tech and data privacy matters for clients of all sorts, from fast growth, early stage companies up to sort of more well-established large enterprises. Jenny, she's a senior member of the UKI client contracting team at Accenture. She specializes in large-scale, complex IT deals and advises the Accenture leadership team on legal issues around security services, outsourcing, cloud, systems integration, blockchain, and digital transformation for Accenture's global clients. So lots of interesting kind of crunchy issues that come up on those types of deals. In terms of how this session is going to run, it's a short session. We don't have tons of time. I'm going to ask Amy and Jenny some questions, but would really encourage the audience, if you've got questions for Amy or Jenny, please do use the chat function or the Q&A tool at the bottom of the screen. And I will do my best to navigate questions and try and feed them through to our panelists as we go through. Also should point out, SCL is an educational charity, and we do appreciate your support. And if you do want to support our work, or buy SCL a coffee, there's a link that's going to be posted in the chat. But on that note, I'm gonna dive straight in. Obviously, Amy, I've given a bit of background about your role, but can you just tell us a little bit more about what that means in practice, and what is your typical day like at Cooley?
Yeah, sure. So I think I would say that broadly the work that I do falls into kind of three key areas. And over the course of a year, it probably is split evenly a third, although, it fluctuates probably throughout the year depending on, just what deals are on at the time. So the first kind of category I'd say is general commercial contracts. And generally they do have a large tech focus, although not exclusively, but typically it would be kind of software licensing, procurement of tech products and services, could be kind of online terms and conditions, right through to kind of large scale outsourcing, systems integration type agreements. So it's pretty broad, but really interesting, and that's probably the side of the work that I enjoy the most. The next bucket is data privacy. So as you said, I'm also in the CDP team at Cooley, and that involves both advising on privacy issues in the context of commercial transactions, but also just broader privacy compliance projects, so GDPR as well as e-privacy regulation. And then the third bucket is working with the corporate team at Cooley on all kinds of corporate transactions. So it could be early stage venture capital investments through to kind of private equity and M&A. And on those deals, I'd be involved in kind of coordinating commercial diligence as well as diligence on privacy and kind of soft IP issues, advising on warranties and kind of associated transaction documents. So I feel very lucky because the work I do is, it is quite broad, but it's kind of all very interesting, and yeah, I enjoy my job, so that's good.
It's always good, and tech is such an interesting area that I must say I find it I find it easy to be kept interested because of the variety and because of all the interesting new technology that our clients are coming out with, which include the likes of Accenture, moving from which, Accenture, which was historically very well known as, big tech procurement, outsourcing company, consultancy, to, the world of, industry of X, new technologies, blockchain, AI, ad tech. Jenny, what's your typical day like? I assume pretty varied, but what do you end up spending most of your days doing, and yeah, what are the bits that you like the best?
Yeah, thanks, Sue. So as you said, I'm a senior member of the UK and Ireland client contracting team, which means I work on Accenture's most complex deals. But on a day-to-day basis, it does vary a lot. So in addition to working on and advising the leadership team on these deals, my role also includes training and guiding our junior transactional lawyers and working on many of Accenture's global initiatives as well. So yes, it does vary, and I think that variety I really enjoy. It's sort of never really a boring day. We're always having to upskill, as you said, on Industry X.0, what the legal issues are there, blockchain, AI, and they differ so much from say standard outsourcing and consulting and SI type work.
Yeah, so really needing to get under the sort of skin of what the tech is that you're trying to sell to understand what the legal ramifications are. So what I wanted to both ask you, so that's what your typical days are, but I think we're all very interested to understand how people's work maybe has changed or maybe hasn't changed since lockdown. So Jenny, for you, have you noticed any changes in terms of the kind of work that you're doing since lockdown and the types of products and services that clients are looking for? Has that changed, and has your work pattern or how you would interact with your colleagues, how fundamentally has that changed as a result of this new virtual world?
I think to be honest, in terms of our ways of working, there hasn't been a massive step change for us, and there are sort of three reasons for that. Because Accenture pre-COVID already had a very flexible work from home policy, so most of my colleagues would spend at least part of the week working from home. And then second of all, because we're a global company, we work really closely with our colleagues in North America and APAC, continental Europe. So we are used to working with colleagues who don't sit in the same office with us. And I think sort of thirdly, because of that policy and because of being a part of a global company, we are really accustomed to utilizing all the features of online collaboration tools like Microsoft Teams. So we didn't really have some of the technical issues that other firms faced with not having enough VPN connections, for example. I think in terms of the actual work itself, I think I don't think much has really changed. I think more than ever, clients need more technology than less technology. So I mean, I think some of their efforts have been some distracted, or they need some time being spent on COVID related matters, but I think it's generally a business as usual for us.
Yeah. And have you noticed any change in terms of how people are doing, for example, projects and deals that we've been wondering whether, moving from all day negotiations in meeting rooms for hours on end, poring over points, now all that's having to move onto online meetings and calls. Do you think, are you seeing a change there? Are people being more pragmatic perhaps? Are things moving more quickly than they might have beforehand? Or is it pretty much the same, do you think?
I think sometimes I think our experience has sort of varied, and I don't know if it depends on the actual the lawyer, for example. Some prefer being face to face and really enjoy that interaction. I think for me, I have found that it's been more difficult to sit on an 8-hour call with negotiations. So yeah, I think it really does depend. But I think it's sort of been interesting as well in terms of being able to see into either your colleagues or all the other lawyers' personal lives in terms of their children coming in and or their pets joining the call and that sort of thing. So it sort of adds a more personal angle to it sometimes as well.
Yeah, I was wondering about that. Yeah, exactly. It kind of less of a them and us. It's we're all in it together, and actually seeing the personal side of them can be helpful in terms of kind of oiling the wheels of those negotiations, potentially. What about you, Amy? Have you, how did you cope with lockdown as a business and personally, and have you noticed a change in terms of how you interact, but also in the types of work that maybe clients are asking you to help with?
Yeah, so I mean, I think as a firm, Cooley handled it pretty well. We were all, given the option to work from home quite a long time before the government actually mandated home working. And from an IT perspective, everything seems to have worked really, really well. I personally haven't had any problems with it. I think the biggest change though is that before COVID, I hadn't had a single Zoom video call, so that's been new, and I think definitely it will change the way we work. When things return slightly more to normal, I think there will be far more remote working than there was previously, which I think will be a really good thing for people to help manage work-life kind of balance, gives people a bit more flexibility to work at times that suit them and their family life. And so I do hope that flows through. And then from a kind of substantive work perspective, I think initially there were definitely quite a few queries around application of force majeure provisions, and definitely on the data side, that there's been lots of questions about returning to work, employee testing, and kind of related GDPR type issues. But otherwise, I think certainly on the commercial and broader data compliance work, it has been kind of business as usual. I've not seen a huge slowing, which has been really, really good. I think certainly though on the corporate side, the deal flow has slowed. So that's actually freed up a bit more time to do kind of more BD, and I think having COVID has forced us to be a bit more original in terms of how we're tackling that. And again, I think in a way that we will try to flow through post, after all of this. So we've had kind of small roundtables on subject matters, just, with kind of 5 or 6 clients on the call, which I think is helpful in the sense that doesn't, people don't have to travel to get there. So it's easier to fit it into the day. And that kind of thing has worked really well. And we've still continued to do larger kind of seminars. So yesterday I was on a webinar that was talking about the Commission white paper on AI, and we had people from different teams within Cooley talking about kind of their own subject matter expertise. So I think on the whole, of actually from a work perspective, there have been lots of positives that have come out of it. Personally, I will look forward to the day when I can go to a pub again. But yeah, from a work point of view, it's been pretty good.
That's great. Thanks for Amy. And what would be quite interesting to hear is from Jenny. I think that's right around private practice. Law firms have all been thinking, well, we need to keep in touch with our clients. We don't really necessarily want to bombard them with alerts all the time. We can't have face-to-face meetings. What do we do? Jenny, have you noticed good or bad practice from the law firms that you work with, and what has helped you the most in terms of how people have interacted with you during this time? Is it the personal touch? Is it know-how? Is it events? What do you think has been helpful for you?
I think I haven't really attended, I would say, many virtual events, but I certainly think you reached out about this SCL event, for example. So that's been really good, and we've spoken about a few other things, and we've had a chat about a few other things, and seeing your own children and your dog in the background as well.
Yeah, hopefully they won't come in during the session. I am slightly worried about having a South Korea moment, but there's a chair against the door, so hopefully we'll be all right. But yeah, no, I mean, I must say I think that's the thing that I have missed with the networking, whether it's with clients or contacts, is just that kind of personal contact. So to me, it seems sensible to have small groups or just interact with people on a personal basis as much as just, about work specifically. We have got some questions, so I'm going to feed them in while we go through before I go into some of my questions. Jenny, question, I hope I'm pronouncing this right, from Shayna in the audience. Did you start off in private practice before moving in-house? What can you give us, details about your background, and how would you advise younger lawyers who are thinking about similar trajectory? They might fancy going in-house, but they want to keep that strong tech law focus.
Yeah, so I spent about over 10 years in private practice. Started in New Zealand, Australia, and then in the UK. And actually, I'm probably revealing my age now, but probably more about 15 plus years in private practice. So I've been at Accenture for just over 2 years now, and did various secondments when I was in private practice. I think the great thing about private practice is all the training that you get, just in terms of your technical knowledge, but also in terms of running deals and that sort of thing. I think the great thing about being in-house is that your focus and a place like Accenture is that you do get a variety of work, and as we mentioned before, you get opportunity to work on really cutting edge type deals that sometimes either the fees don't justify it, or it's something new. Then you might not necessarily get that exposure in private practice. So I mean, I think certainly in private practice gives you really good training and background for being in-house, where you might not necessarily get the same sort of supervision and you're expected to sort of hit the ground running, but then you take more of a practical and pragmatic approach to things, because you're working with a variety of people who don't have legal training.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And the other one is from a very different angle, but is around, and we touched on it a bit earlier, but Deirdre wants to know, have you changed your negotiation strategies as a result of this new world? So particularly she's thinking of, where we maybe via Zoom or WebEx or whatever, working off the same shared screen. Has that impacted how you negotiate? I know, I have to say from Accenture's perspective that even when you're in a meeting room, quite often people would be Skype messaging or whatever each other within the team. So maybe you still do that kind of stuff. But yeah, has it changed how you approach a negotiation? Either of you. Amy, do you think it's changed how you prepare and run a negotiation?
I think actually I've had fewer kind of large negotiations since the start of this, honestly. So I've not been in like an 8-hour long conference call, and the deals that I was working on where that might have come about have generally slowed a bit. So people are kind of waiting to see what happens before they kind of take the plunge and go ahead with those. But I was on a call the other day, and I hadn't realized the Zoom functionality where you can be split into breakout rooms. So if you had 6 people on a call, 3 on one side, 3 on another, you can actually break out and then regroup again, which I thought was really clever. But I have been in negotiations before where you're making amendments live, and obviously you can use the share screen function to achieve the same thing. So I think if you could master the breakout function, someone far more kind of Zoom savvy than me actually did that for me. If you could master that, then it could work really effectively, I think. But I don't know whether Jenny's got more recent experience of the long marathon negotiations.
I mean, I think recently on a couple of deals that I've done, they weren't really marathon negotiations, but I think what I've found is I had a negotiation yesterday, and it was with a private practice lawyer, and we usually use Microsoft Teams, and we share the documents on the screen, and that's what we did pre-COVID as well, and I don't know if it's because she maybe had technical issues, but she actually just dialed on from her phone, and she had a hard copy of the contract in front of her. So yeah, I don't know if that's maybe something that she just wasn't accustomed to. But I would say that I don't think it had, again, I don't think it really has changed that much. And I think partly for me, it's because, another negotiation I was on, the lawyer who was Australian actually lived in Switzerland. So I don't know whether before lockdown, we would have had any face-to-face negotiations, or whether they would have just been done remotely. But we do, because we work on a lot of cross-border deals, a lot of it is remote as well. Not always. Sometimes we do travel and whatnot, but a lot of it can be cross-border, and we do negotiations remotely.
Yeah, and I think increasingly, even after lockdown, it will become more commonplace, because people will be trying to save costs on travel, but also increasingly for issues like sustainability, like, is it really justifiable to travel everybody to one location, when actually we've shown during this period that we can do things quite seamlessly more remotely.
I mean, I would say sometimes it is a bit, without being in a meeting room, if you do have to give your client, whether it's internal or external, a bit of a kick under the table, that's a bit more difficult to do.
Yeah. Yes, and there are obviously horror stories about people sharing their screens, not realizing it's still being shared, or messaging when they think it's just to their side and other people seeing it, and that happened way before lockdown. So it's always just remember what you're doing and where you are at the right moment, so you don't get yourself in a pickle. I'm conscious of time, and I could talk to you guys forever, but I'm going to try and keep to time as much as I can. So we've talked a lot. We've talked a lot about how your typical day has been during lockdown, and what you're focusing on, and how you're working with your colleagues and clients. But how do you unwind? I think a lot of people have been saying to me, I think the fear before we kind of got into this practice of just working from home full time was that people may not be as productive, but actually the reality is people are worried that people are at risk of burning out, because actually there's no natural end of the day, and work just can be 24/7, and people are finding it difficult to unwind. So how have you, Amy, how do you unwind after a hard day in the home office?
I've tried not resorting to the 4 o'clock beers that I started doing initially. So now I have a bike, and so I've relocated to Winchester, which is where my parents live, and so I'm living with them, and they're really keen cyclists. So I've now also got a bike. So I've been going on bike rides, which has been lovely, seeing as the weather's been so gorgeous. So that's one thing, and I think I've been trying to make use of the extra time that I've got back from not having a commute. So exercising before work, and I've had my parents doing boot camp in the garden, which I think they have mixed feelings about them. And then I've tried to do kind of like, I've started doing a bit more art and like painting, things like that.
Oh, very good.
Before lockdown, I'd started going to an art class on a Monday evening, because Monday is usually the best night of the week to get out of work at a reasonable time. And so I started doing that, and sadly those classes have come to an end, but so I've tried to carry on doing a bit of that now and again. And I find that that's a good way to completely switch off. I'm not very good at, even if I'm, reading or, I'm not very good at turning my brain off when I'm meant to be off. But art, I find, is one way where I kind of get a bit more into it, and I don't seem to have kind of my mind buzzing about work or other things. So I found that's been helpful.
And do you think you'll miss this home working? One of the questions that's come through in the Q&A is, do private practice lawyers think that this really will spark a real trend for people to work remotely more often? In which case, do you think that they might rethink their real estate options? So not everybody will have an office anymore or share an office. It will be open plan, and there'll be just fewer seats available, and so people will work from home much more often and come into the office when they need to. What do you think? What's your instinct?
Well, interesting question for Cooley specifically, because we've recently signed quite a long lease, I think, with a new large, swanky building. So I think that we will still be encouraged to come into the office, but I do hope that remote working is kind of built in, and I certainly don't really see a need for everyone to be in the office every single day. I think there is still a lot to be said for face-to-face interaction, and so I wouldn't want to move completely to remote working, but I think there's definitely a lot to be said for it, and a bit of a middle ground I think would be nice. And I do hope that actually everyone in the firm has seen benefits from working this way, and that those, I think, certainly far outweigh any negatives. I've not actually heard anyone say that it's had a detrimental impact on the actual work. I think more than anything, it's kind of people's mental health, and in some cases, it's nice to be able to interact socially, and in particular if you're in a small flat in London, either on your own or even with flatmates, remote working can be quite stressful actually. So yeah, I don't think it will be a complete shift, but I hope there'll be a bit more of a balance than there was before, definitely.
Yeah, no, I agree. And Jenny, how about you? How do you wind down after a busy day at Accenture, probably talking to people all over the globe and wrangling with business colleagues and the other side?
Yeah, I think I agree with what you said and what Amy said earlier too. Just it's a lot more difficult to have the distinction between your work life and your a work life balance, because you're always at home. And I don't know if I really necessarily got the right balance, because 2 weeks ago I was just told on a Friday night, I was just told, and maybe because my internal client had assumed that I'd be at home anyway, we've got negotiations at 9 p.m. on a Friday night, and I was only given about 2 hours notice.
I must say, I had a colleague, in fact it was a pro bono client, and we were on a call with the client, and the client asked for something, and my colleague said, oh, well, I won't be able to do it, I'll be able to do it by X, and the client sort of pushed back and said, well, you can't be going anywhere. I'm like, yeah, but it's my Saturday, and it's not that urgent really. But yeah, so hopefully people are generally more accommodating of your.
Yeah, I mean, he was apologetic, but it wasn't. I was just surprised to be given sort of the 2 hours notice and being expected to join on a Friday night. But I think now sort of more important than ever, it's really important to keep in touch to make sure you do stay in touch with your colleagues, with your friends and family globally. Just virtually at least, doing the virtual coffees, and I use House Party for catching up with my friends, for example. There are games and quizzes on that which are quite fun. So I mean, my lockdown, I would say, Sue, I'm about to go on maternity leave, so my lockdown's actually been stricter than other.
Yeah, you've not been drinking the alcohol that I can see behind you on the trolley.
Alcohol, going on long bike rides or anything like that. So, I mean, I personally find that my day's actually gone by really quickly. But I think it's definitely making sure that you do stay in touch with your colleagues, with your friends, and having a distinction between your home life and your work life. Yeah,
no, absolutely. Now I'm conscious we're running over, so I'm just going to wrap up with two final questions, which is whichever order you want to ask them in. But I was going to say, what have you learned most about yourself during this period, and what are you most looking forward to once we have freedom? So maybe you, Amy, to start.
I have learnt about myself that I really like people and I really like socializing more I think than I thought. I thought I was maybe more of an introvert and liked spending time on my own, but actually I really value my friends and getting out and about, and I really miss that. I think as Jenny was saying, it's so important to stay in touch with people, and Zoom and House Party and all of these things are really fantastic, but I am so looking forward to actually face to face seeing people who are not my parents, as lovely as they are, and
having that beer in a pub.
Yes, I think that's it. I know. Having a beer in a pub, being able to buy my Pret coffee, just I think I will value those things more than I kind of appreciated them before. So yeah, looking forward to that first beer outside of my house.
And what about you, Jenny? What have you learned about yourself, and what are you most looking forward to, apart from obviously a bouncing baby coming along shortly?
What have I learned most about myself? I am really bad at cleaning. And and I rely heavily on my cleaner, as well as an extensive network of third parties to make my life run semi-smoothly, including obviously my hairdresser. So that's sort of high on my list when the hair salon's open, to get out there and get my hair cut, coloured, and whatnot.
I'm with you on that one. We're going to be like Rapunzel by the end of it, unless we're very brave and we're prepared to let our partner or someone in our family cut our hair. But I haven't got that desperate yet. I just want to say we're just a little bit over. I could have talked to you for ages, and I look forward to doing so again in the future. But I just want to thank you so much for joining us and sharing your days and your stories. Thank you so much. And thanks everyone else for joining us today. This was the first time. We hope you enjoyed the session. We have got another of these sessions lined up with Hannah from HSBC and Francesca from Onfido. But if you'd like to take part in a future session, then please do let me know, or contact the SCL team, because we'd love to hear your story too. I also wanted to remind everyone that membership of SCL is open to all. If you've joined today and you're not already a member, then you can find details on the website scl.org, and also to remind you that membership is free for trainee lawyers and students, and we'd love to have you get involved with the society and also with the Women in Tech Law Network. I also wanted to flag that we're trying to do a variety of events virtually for the network while we are physically apart. So this is one initiative. We've got a series of sessions coming up with some external experts, which should be terrific if you can join. We've got Esther Stanhope, who is going to tell us all how to ace remote meetings. And perhaps we should have had that session before this one to teach me a few tips, but that will be great. She has given celebrities. She's trying to teach Boris Johnson media training. She has dealt with lots of leading people in business, and she can hopefully give you some good tips about how to make an impact via Zoom and other technologies. We also have Harriet Minter coming to talk to us. She is going to talk about resilience and how to stay productive during isolation. You may know Harriet. She was at The Guardian. She's a leading broadcaster and journalist focused on women's issues. She has a talk radio podcast called The Badass Women, and you may have also seen her sort of cross swords with Piers Morgan on his sofa, which is always fun. So she's going to come and talk to us, and we have a range of other events lined up. So please do keep an eye out on the SCL website for more details and join us if you can. And lastly, if you have suggestions for any other events or initiatives you think we should be doing, then this is your network. So please do let me know, or contact Caroline or Maddie or any of the SCL team, and we'd be keen to explore with you. So with that, we've run a little bit over, but this was our test run. So thank you so much again, Amy and Jenny. Good luck, Jenny. Keep in touch. Let us know how you get on. And look forward to seeing you too soon, Amy. Good luck with everything, and see you on the other side.
Yeah.
Thanks again, and have a good day, everyone. Cheers.
Thanks,
Bye.
everyone.
Bye.